We're up to Daf Lamed Aleph. I'm at Aleph. We're up to the top, 3 lines from the top. Itmar. Chatzi zayis chutz l'zmanoi. Chatzi zayis chutz l'mkoimoi. Chatzi zayis chutz l'zmanoi. So zman, mokoim, zman. Now here's the shaila. Do we say, once you said chatzi zayis, zman, and mokoim, then it's starif and it's puzzle, because you have a full zayis, but you don't have pigel? Or do we say, since you have zman over here, it reconnects with the first saying of machshava of zman and yechayv pigel? Again, right? Zman, makoim, zman. Do we say this two are mitzvah if it's puzzle and then this can't combine, or no? Amarava, vayikatz ki yoshein hapigel. Says a pasuk from Tehillim. He quotes a pasuk from Tehillim that ayin chet ayin es pasuk samachay vayikatz ki yoshein Hashem. So says Rava that the pigel is what is comes up again. Let's see Rashi, beautiful Rashi. Vayikatz ki yoshein pigel kim shemotza chatzi zayis rishon chatzi zayis achroin. Since the first chatzi zayis of zman finds the last chatzi zayis of zman, shehu minoi, near mishnasai, it wakes it up from its sleep, umevutoloi shenitztaref im chutz l'mkoimoi livso, and it's mevatel the first combination of zman with makoim to pasel, v'loi lefagel, and would be pigel because then you don't have a full zayis of zman. V'chosim mitztaref im zel lefagel, and 3 combines with 1 to be mefagel. Ubotle chatzi zayis the chutz l'mkoimoi. It's mevatel number 2, the chutz l'mkoimoi. Melohoitzi midei pigel. The ein chatzi zayis moil b'makom kazayis. The chatzi zayis in this case of makom does not help b'makom kazayis in this case of zman. V'loy amina, we don't say kavan it's starif im she'etzloi lipso. We don't say it's already been combined with the makom to pasel. V'loy yachsev v'yifrim mimenu, and then what? It can go back and separate. In other words, we don't say that once this man goes with the makom that you can't separate them again and put this and this together. But we say what? Chaza v'nir. It wakes up again. Tosis points out it's not the exact same thing as in Taruvis, because machshava is not Taruvis, but nonetheless, it's a similar concept. So that's what Rabbi says. The non Rav Hamnuna Amar, ear of machshava is have it's ear of machshava, so therefore it's puzzle, and therefore it's not. There's no pigel. It's puzzle. It's not a good carbon. It's not pigel. Amar Rava, mino aminallah. How do I know this idea that what that something can come back and reawake and make it pigel? But I know that from Ditnan. I know it from Tumah. Now Tumas Oichlin is kibetza. Ditnan kibetza oichel rishain. So we're familiar with the halachas of Tumah v'Taira. Let's just keep it very brief. I need a rishain, a sheni, and a shlishi. A rishain and a sheni will go ahead. A rishain touches a sheni touches a truma. The truma now becomes a shlishi. So it itself what? It cannot be metama something else. The shlishi can be metama revi, but again, the truma itself is puzzle, right? Mashen kain, if it's a sheni, it can make a shlishi. So therefore, keep this in mind. You have a beitza of oichel rishain, who can beitza oichel sheni. So you have a full beitza of rishain, mixed in with a full beitza of a sheni. The rishain, the halacha is it's a rishain. Since I have the full share of a rishain, it has a rishain. We don't say it's bottle, but it's a rishain. Cholkan, if you divide, now what do you have here? You have a full beitza of sheni, a full beitza of rishain, you divide it up. Now you don't have a full beitza of rishain, you don't have a full beitza of sheni. So cholkan zeh sheni, v'zeh sheni. Each one is a sheni now, not at one, because you don't have a full share of rishain. Hachaza v'irvon, but if you bring them back together, rishain have, now it becomes a rishain. So it's very geshmak. Right? Just like when the rishain and the sheni are together, it's a sheni. It's a rishain when they're full. Separate them, it's a sheni. When they come back together again, it's a rishain. So too over here, where it's first it's man, then it's makoim, and then it's puzzle. Comes along this man and puts it back together again, like the by the tumah it becomes a rishain. Over here by this man it becomes pigel because it's chayiv kares. How do you know that how do you know that this mission in Tyrus that what it returns and becomes a rishain? Tani Seifa. Nafal ze ba'atzmai. If this half that's divided falls up on truma, b'ze ba'atzmai, and this ba'atzmai al kika shel truma, paslua. It passes it. It makes it a shlishi, but now it can be metama something else. Naflu shneim ka'achas. However, if they two that are both they're both halves full ka'achas, asu a shniya, it makes the truma a sheni to go by mitama, another's a chelik truma to make it a shlishi. So you see from the level of tuma of the truma, we can ascertain what level it was. If it was puzzle, it touched the sheni. If it's mitama, then it touched the rishon. So we see that if it falls together at the same time. So you see that what they both combined and they consider a rishon because the tuma, at the level of the truma is a sheni. A sheni can if they fall, but if they atzma, and then not, you don't have a full share of a rishon. Therefore, it's a sheni, and the sheni passes the truma. That's the shita of Rava. Rav Hamnuna Amar. Rav Hamnuna says no. He makes a big difference. Hasam over there when it mixed together, ikashura. You had the full share of a beitza initially when it mixed. You had the full share of a rishon. That's why hachaleka shura. Over there, you had a shame tuma, you had a shame rishon that mixed up, and therefore, whether you after you divide it and bring it back, it returns to that name. Over here, when it mixed together with this man with the makaim, you didn't have a shame, and since you didn't have a shame, it can't come back now, and it created a level of piggle in this case. That's the lashon of Rashi. Says Rashi. That's the lashon of Rashi. Hasan v'kashira meikara shalim. You have a shir shalim, v'nechalik, and then you divide them up. Pilka kashechaza v'irvu chaza shmayalav. The same shem mishram returns. Aval hacha meikara chatzi zayis pigel v'chatzi zayis puzzle. Leinikra shem pigel alav. It doesn't not called pigel. Kim shem puzzle. It's a puzzle. Hilkach ki hoda osi chatzi shir this man. You have the chatzi zayis this man. Leipaka shem psul lemechla shem pigel. It doesn't lose the shem of psul to become shem pigel. Amr Hamnun, Amin Allah. Where do I know it from? It's interesting. They both sources are source in Masechta Tyrus. How do I Rav Hamnuna know that it doesn't go ahead it doesn't come back? Did not. Avatuma is an av, touches something, makes it a rishon. And a piece of food that got tummy from a vladatuma. A vladatuma is a rishon, so it's a sheni. So you have two pieces now of meat of oichel. One is a rishon, one's a sheni. Mitzvah from zeh the tame b'kal shebeshneim. They would each combine the rishon and the sheni to be mitama of the sheni. Kal shebeshneim. That was the lesser amount. My love, afagav the hoda malya. That even if another rishon comes in, you see it still remains a sheni. So again, we're comparing zman and makoim to rishon and sheni. Rishon sheni becomes a sheni. Zman and makoim becomes puzzle. Now you see what do you see by the tuma that even if a rishon comes back in, it doesn't go ahead and make that rishon again, but it remains a sheni. Who are then by pigul? Since it's what it's zman and makim, and it's puzzle. When the zman comes in, it doesn't go ahead and regurgitate to make it back. The sheva din of chutz zman and minchayv pigul. Says more. There's no hechrech. Could speak over there. That's a rishon sheni, and there's no rishon. But if another rishon fell in, like we go ahead and make it a rishon again. There's no raya. Kiyos Rav Dimi Amar. When Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael, he said, "Chatzi zayis." Now remember, our dinner in Rav Nuna was Sman Makim Zayis. Sman Makim Zayis. Kiyos Rav Dimi Amar. Chatzi zayis chutz dem kaimai. Makim. Chatzi zayis chutz zmanai. Chatzi zayis chutz zmanai. Since the two zmanim are together, tani bakapara pigel, right? Right? Because why? Ein chatzi zayis moyel b'makim kazayis. Even though you had makim and pigel and zman together at this point in time, since you had simultaneously two zmanim together, it's pigel. So this is not similar to our first case. Our first case was zman makim zman. This is makim zman zman. Okay, and therefore bakapara says since the two simultaneously the two zmanim, it's pigel. That's Rav Dimi in the name of Bar Kapara. Ki also Ravin, when Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael, this is what he reported. Omar, Chatzi Zayis Chutz L'Zmanoi, Chatzi Zayis Chutz L'Zmanoi, Chatzi Zayis L'Mkoimoi. So you had Zayis, you had Zman, Makim. That's going to be pigel. Tani bar kapara pigel. Because why? Ein chatzizayis, the last chatzizayis of makam moil b'makam kazayis. So you have three sheets, right? You have three words. You have Makaim, Zman, Makaim, Achloikas, Rava, and Rav Hamnuna. You have Bakapara reported, and you have, according to Rav Dimi, is Makaim, Zman, Zman. And then you have the report of Ravin. The report of Ravin is Zman, Zman, Makaim. Ravashi Masni Hachi. Ravashi learned like this. Chatzi Zayis Chutzismanoi, one, and then Ukichatzi Zayis Chutzim Koime Chutzismanoi. So you have the first one, what is Zman, and the latter two come together. You have Mokim and Zman. So this is similar to Rabbi's Din. This is similar to Rabbi's Din. It's Zman, Mokim, Zman, but it's a little different because Rabbi's Din was Zman, Mokim, Zman. This is Mokim, this is Zman, Mokim, Zman. This is man, makim man. Those two go together. Then what? Tani bakapora pigel. It's pigel and in chatzizayis moil but makim kazayis. Let's see Rashi. Says Rashi, four lines from the bottom. Rashi Amar kirava sirulei. He holds like Rava zman makim zman that it renews itself. Damal el vayikatz kiyoshin a pigel wakes up. Vafilu afseki b'machshavas makim. Even what? Even though this is in the middle, nonetheless it wakes it up. That's Rava. Va'adifu the Ravashi mid the Rava, and Ravashi is even stronger than Rava. Why? The Ashmina Ravusa. Afagav the Chashvin lezmanu mokim bechadibura. Even though the last one, this was man, the last one was together. It wasn't two separate. It was together. Even though it was together in bechadibura, v'tzir from bisvasav lekizayis echad, and with your mouth you made this one kizayis. So the svara is that this should be puzzle and not be mitzdarif with this. Kamashlo and Ravashi, we consider it too, and it's mitzdarif that's even bigger than Rava. It's even bigger than Rava's chiddush. Rav Yanai, Chishiv, this is very interesting halachas. Chishiv sheyachluhu klovim, lamacha. Now we know that the machshava of pigel has to be achila, either achilas mizbeach or we thought achilas adam. What about you have machshava chutz what? That lamacha the next day you can feed it to a dog. What's the halacha? Right? Says Rabbi Yanai, it's pigel. Dichsiv, there's a zevel, and Ezevel, it says Ezevel, the wicked wife of Achav, there's Ezevel yoichlu aklovim, bechelak Israel, and they were eaten up. They ate her up. So you see that what that the achilas klovim is considered achila. The middle of the machshava to feed it to dogs would be make it pigel. Maskala Ravami, El Miata. You're just telling me that the lashon of achila makes it pigel. El Miata chishiv shetachluhu eish lamachar. I'm going to go ahead and feed it to the fire. Be medayik my words. I didn't say burn it. I said I'm going to feed it to the fire. I'm going to give it the fire to eat. Right? The chsiv, it says a pasuk in Iyov, kol choshech tomon litzfunov, toichleu eish leinupach. They're eaten up by an eish that is not bellowed. So you see, eish is called the lashon of achila, right? Right? Hachanami the pigel. You can say it's pigel. V'chitema hachanami. If you're going to say that what it is pigel, 1 second. V'tanan. We said it on Mishnah. Lechol kechatzi zayis ulahak the chatzi zayis kosher. We said the carbon because she'eina achila v'aktorim mitzdarfim. They don't combine. So not only is it not pigel, it's not even possible. Not only is it not pigel, it's not puzzle. Now, right now, we're holding that the lashon of fire being eaten and fire burning, haktara and achila, is the same thing. And therefore, so how can you tell me that the lashon of achila by a dog would go ahead and create pigel? Then that's the case. The lashon of achila by a fire also should create pigel. And we see from our Mishnah that the lashon of burning and fire can't be mitzdaref with the lashon of achila. So you see that what? That it's not that way. And for the Gemara, either afki b'lashon achila chinami. You're right. Had you gone ahead and said eating the fire, it would be pigel. Rambam passes like this, that it would be pigel, right? Hacha ma'askina da'afki b'lashon aktara. The lashon achila chud, lashon aktara chud. There's a difference between feeding a fire and burning. Having something, feeding a fire, making fuel it, make it eat, and then there's something burning, lashon aktara. So lashon achila is a lachud, and lashon aktara is lachud. Saying achinami, just like if you had a machshava to feed it to the dog the next day, chutz l'zman, the next day, it would be pigel. Who adin if you had machshava chutz l'zman, mocha the next day to feed it, lashon achila to eish, it also would be pigel. By Ravashi, ishav lechol kazayis b'shnei b'nei adam. It's kesayis, but it's going to be two people. I have a machshava to feed it the next day to two separate people. What's the din? Do we say basa machshava azlinon and it's kesayis to ikashura, or basa oichlin azlinon to go away after the eaters, and the eaters are what are eating chatzizayis. So it would not be pickle. Do you go after the machshava of the adam, or do you go after what the you go after the actual achila? For like a shiur, and you know the share. Amr Abaya Toshma says Abaya, we're going to make a good deal. It says lechol kechatzi zayis ulahakta kechatzi zayis. Now this diak is gonna go ahead and be malava us to the end of the parak. So it's important to know. So Toshma, I have in mind lechol kechatzi zayis ulahakta kechatzi zayis is kosher. Why? She'ein achila v'aktar mitzdarfin on the base. Achila and aktar can't be mitzdarf. Mashma, not haktara. I lechol v'lechol, but I have machshava to eat and to eat. Dumya de la'achila lahakter. In other words, I have machshava of eating, similar to a machshava of eating and burning. It would be pickle. The hechi dami b'shnei bnei adam. In other words, that's the two people eating it would be similar to it being burned. Why is it comparable? Uh, when you eat something and burn something, so the same kesayis is not being by chatzisayis lechol chatzay lahakter is not being consumed by the same person or by the same fire. So therefore, if I have achila, similar to achila of aktara, just like achila, half is being eaten, half is being burnt, so too two people, half is being eaten, half is being eaten by another person. So that is achila, dumid achila of aktara, it would be pickle. Dafka achila of aktara is why is kosher. But achila is similar to achila of aktara, and the similarity is that what? One is being burned, one's being eaten half and half. So two over here, half and half, that's a similarity, but it's two achilas. Once it's two achilas, even though it's chatzi, it would be what? A machshav of pigel, shmami, no, it's a good raya. Boy Rava, chishav lechel kazayas be yesim achilas pras. Now we know that for eating, it's the share between 3 and 9 minutes, the time of eating a half a loaf of bread. Okay. By the haktara burning, if there's no raya, it's going to be burnt in that time. So that shear is more than kedei achilas pas. There's no raya that it's that shear. So if a person goes ahead and he has a mind to eat it, chutz l'zman in more than the zman of achila, right? What's the din? Achilas pras mahu, b'kedei achilas pras mahu. Achilas gavoyim medabin and lay, and therefore it would what? It would not be pigel because why? Because it's more than it would be pigel because just like there's no hakpot. I mean, it's lav dafka achilas pras. The mela over here also it's lav dafka, and it would be more than that. And therefore, if it's more than achilas pras, the station is kind of chila. If it's not an achila, then you would not have what the dinner pickle. So again, you're having machshava to go ahead and eat it chus man, but you're going to take your time. If you compare it to haktara and that achilas mizbeach, then it would be pigel because there it's not kedei achilas pas. If, however, it's achilas adam, that would be the share of kedei achilas pas, and therefore it would not be pigel. Amar Abaye Toshma lechol kechatzi zayis. The same guys. I'm going to go through the same diak throughout to the end of the parak. Amar Abaye Toshma lechol kechatzi zayis ulahak the kechatzi zayis. To go ahead what and eat chatzi zayis and the burn chatzi zayis kosher. Shein achila v'aktar mitzdarfen. Taima de le'echel ulahakter. Halechel le'echel. To go ahead, if to eat and eat, dumya de lehechta dumya de haktara, according to the base in the shita, mitzdarif. It would go ahead what and combine. It would combine. Aiva haktara b'yosim le'echilas pasu. So l'chayra it should what it should not be pigel. Says the Gemara. It should be pickle. I'm sorry. But what would it be? What would lechel be similar to haktara that is mistav? So you look at Rashi. Vehechidami yoisim chdeachilas pras lechel chatzisayis the lachser v'lechel chatzisayis ubein zelazeh yoisim chdeachilas pras dum yudaktara, which is also yoisim chdeachilas pras mitzdarif. So by haktara it wouldn't combine, but by yoisim chdeachilas pras, if you took your time, it would be pigel. Says the Gemara, you have no raya. Because tilma behesed gadol. Maybe it's speaking about what you burn it so quickly, it will be what more than achilas, less than achilas pras. How did lahak the diktani behesed gadol kamar with the kavasi dafka lechol lechem it's. In other words, maybe the fire is so big that it's going to burn it in the share of what of more than less than achilas pras or achilas pras, and therefore achila is similar to that. We dafka that much, but more than that, yes, achilas pras there would not be din pigel. Okay, Taima the Mishnah said, Taima. Lechol kezayis, lechol kachatzi zayis, ulahakta kachatzi zayis. To eat a chatzi zayis and to burn a chatzi zayis, we said it's kasha. Taima de lechol ulahaktir. Halechol v'lechol, davashein darker lechol, it's tarif. In other words, the reason why it's not pigel, why it's because you can't be mitzarif achila with haktara. Forget the haktara part. Let's say it's achila, even though it's something that's not normally eaten, that would be good. Now, if you this sounds familiar, this is the shita of Rabbi Eliezer. We said earlier in the case of remember the or aliyah, if it's ka'aliyah dummy, and then you have machshava for achilas adam meaning the aliyah. The aliyah is a murim, ein dark bekach. So that goes into that sugya. So but that's the diak over here. Time with the lechol lahaktir. That's the reason it's kasha. Halechol v'lechol davish shein dark lechol. But to eat lashon of eating something that's not normally eaten, like something that's normally burnt, mitzarif. It would combine. I haktani reisha lechol eshedarka lechol. At the Mishnah beginning of Mishnah read, pigel is if you have machshava to eat something that's normally eaten. Eshedarka lechol in dafka that's something normally eaten. Yes, shein darka loy, but something normally not. So if you have in mind to eat a murim, it wouldn't work. But the diak over here is, if you had in mind a murim, as long as you don't have the lashon of Torah, it would work. You have a steer now in the Mishnah between the Reish and the Seifa. Rabbi Yomi Hamani, who's the Tan of the Mishnah, is Rabbi Eliezer. Dama mechashin me'achilas adam, achilas mizbeach, achilas mizbeach, achilas adam. So ein achinami. Achila dorish edarka normal. That's great. Everyone agrees to that. And the Seifa, where you're making the diak that dafka achila and haktorah don't come akasha. Mashma achila, even though it's similar to haktorah, a murim that you're burning would be good pigel. Who holds that way? That's the Afgawad, Rabbi Eliezer. Ditnan. Hashoichet says zevach lechol davashing darko lechol. Shaman shech says zevach to eat something that's not normally eaten. Ulahak the davashing darko lahak there, or to burn something that's not normally burnt. Kasha. Why? Because not mitzaref. Rabbi Eliezer paisel. Rabbi Eliezer is a puzzle. Okay, so that's one way to explain the diak of the Mishnah. Again, the Mishnah, the ratio of the Mishnah says dafka is dafka lechol, and we have the diak that we've been making throughout the last daf gemara. Dafka lechol lahak there is a kasha, but lechol would be pigel. It would be possible. If it's makim, it's possible. If it's pig, if it's man, it's pigel. And even okay, says the Gemara, I feel rabbanan. Can you even say it's according what? I feel Rabbanon. You can even say that what? That the Mishnah is Rabbanon. So you have a problem now because we have that diak from Lechol v'haktir v'filu davisha ein darka Lechol. V'loi tema, don't make the diak halechol v'lechol davisha ein darka Lechol. Don't make that diak. Ela ha lechol v'lechol davisha darka Lechol. Dafko lechol v'haktir is kosher, but lechol v'lechol, something normally eaten would be what? Would be pigel. Now, obvious question is, what's the chiddush over here? And what else? What's the chiddush? You had machshava to eat something that's normally eaten. Says Gemara, my kamashmalan. What's the chiddush? E shedarka lechol. If it's something that's normally eaten, kamashmalan mereisha. If you're making a diak that the chila of two chatzis on something that is normally eaten would be mitzdarif, you hear that from the Reisha Shmamina. We learn from the Reisha where it says that you have a machshava to eat kechatzi zayis bachutz, kechatzi zayis lemachar. The carbon is puzzle, right? So obviously you see that why it's mitzdarif. So it can't be that lechol teach me chatzi. That can't be. Again, the diak is dafka achila Torah is kasha, but achila, even something normally eaten, would be no good. Says well, if that's the case, teach me chatzi. I know that from the Reisha. Ilechol ulahak there, right? If it's chatzi zayis to eat and chatzi zayis to burn, we know it's not mitzdarif. In the yuk of the Reisha shmamina, we hear that from the diak of the Reisha. What does it say in the Reisha? That if a person thinks lechol davish darko lechol to eat something that's pot that he's eating basa b'machshava psul, ain, right? In it's puzzle Shein darka lechol loy, but if it's not something that's darka lechol not. It's a hashta, right? Now here's the limit. Uma, if he thinks lechol chatzi zayis basa, the lechol midav shein darka lechol, and chatzi zayis mimurim apostles by mitzarif, right? Lechol ulahaktir, right? Loy mitzarif. In other words, if you go ahead, hashta uma lechol to chamsi that's normally eaten, basa. V'lechol midava shein darka lechol. Loy mitzdaref doesn't combine. Lechol to eat chatzi zayis that's normally eaten, and to burn a chatzi zayis that's normally burnt, right? Kol shekain that they're not mitzdaref. Close to not mitzdaref. So what exactly is the diak that you want to make? This diak that lechol v'hakti is kasha, but lechol dakish lechol is what is good. And for the Gemara Tavet Chiddush lechol v'hakti. The Chiddush is to teach me chatzi zayis basar and chatzi zayis murim. They're not mitzdaref. And there's a Chiddush. What's the Chiddush? It's the Salkadai that I mean over thought. Hasam hu the lav ki urchi kachashav over there when they're not mitzdaref. Why is that? Is because one is it's mishum hu choshev adam. He thought about a person to eat a murim, and a person doesn't eat a murim. Aval hacha, when he thought over here, kechatzi zayis basa ulahak the chatzi zayis murim, the bahai ki urche. It's normally a person eats basa, ubahai ki urche, and it's normally that the murim are burnt. Emel mitzdarif, I would say it's mitzdarif. Kemash malon, that what? That it's not mitzdarif, despite the fact that it's normal. In other words, so the diak we're making is don't make the diak to combine those two. You don't combine achila v'aktara, but you would combine achila v'achila. And what's the dik achila v'achila? Something that's not darkoi, and then you have a stira. Says a Byron, no, you don't have a stira. You don't have a stira enough. Says Rebbe Les. It's the chacham throughout, and the dik in the end that you're making that the echol davish to achila and haktara not. It's kasha because they're not mitzdarif. But kechatzi zayis, right? You'll say that what that what's the chiddush? Oh, if it's darkoi to eat, so the chiddush is you would think that what that basa, which is dark chatzi zayis basa, which is dark to eat, chatzi zayis basa of to burn of mimum to burn should be mitzdarif because each one's going normal. Kamash that what that it's not. Hajjan lecha kol Zevachim shekiblu daman. Hajjan lecha kol Zevachim shekiblu daman. Hajjan lecha kol Zevachim shekiblu daman. Good night from Yerushalayim, Mir Kodesh.